and welcome to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. We have a very interesting show for you tonight, but first, let me introduce our posse, the main members of our posse. Girls, your hearts are fluttering again because Juan-Juan is in the studio with us
baby.
Tonight.
I'm here.
Okay. He's overdosing on jellybeans. You'll learn more about that later on in the show.
That's right. So,
I know we're talking.
They're good, too.
Yeah, we can tell. I can tell by the way your eyes are kind of glazing over there with happiness. We are talking to people of the future, but at the moment, while we're recording this, the Patriots are soon to, this weekend are going to face the Jacksonville Jaguars in the FC Championship game. And to celebrate that, Juan-Juan has gone overboard as far as his clothing is concerned. Mm-hmm. Let me describe. Okay. First of all, you have the hat on. Is that the hat with the mistakes?
Yes, the hat with the Roman numeral era for Super Bowl 49.
Okay, all right.
This hat represents the 5 Super Bowls.
There you go. Even though it's in era, Roman numeral-wise. Mm-hmm. You also have a shirt on, Super Bowl champions.
LI, which is 51.
We are all Patriots. Okay. He has his Patriots pants on that look more like pajamas to me. Okay.
These are the therapeutic pajamas that Tom Brady recommends.
Do they have the dump thing in the back, the dump trap in the back?
No, it doesn't.
No? Okay. All right. That would be a little too unclassy.
Don't be so gauche.
He has his Patriots boots on, which are
therapeutic boots.
One of a kind. And he's also wearing his TB12 cape. Mm-hmm. Okay. Something that Zorro would be embarrassed to wear. So you're all decked out. I don't want to know what you're wearing underneath all this, but I can just imagine. So you're hopeful?
There's a TB12 branded item for everything on me. I'm just not wearing it all. It's if you overdose on TB12,
yes, it's a wet way to go.
You can't recover.
So your attire tells me you're confident in what's going to happen on Sunday.
Well, every time I watch him, he's the man. Things can go wrong, but somehow
it's not his fault. If it does.
Usually it isn't.
Yeah.
When I see some of these drops.
Yes.
The noise, the Patriots could really been blowing out some of these. Well, there was a blowout,
Yes.
Previously, but
yes.
I see some of these foolish drops. I'm going, what is wrong with Cooks?
Yeah, no, he doesn't want to take a hit. Is his problem.
And then I saw one from James White, who I love. I love James White.
He's the greatest.
It went through his arms like he had a hole in his arm from the ball.
Well, you can't catch them all. Things are moving pretty fast.
That ball was placed so perfectly. I don't know how a human being can place a ball. Running, and I saw Ben Roethlisberger do it. He's.
Hey, no, listen.
I'm glad you're bringing down the show yourself.
Listen, talk about bringing down the show. No, only kidding. Also joining us from his undisclosed location is the very famous Coco. Is here, Commander Cobra.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Okay.
Glad to report that the Jets are cooling down nicely.
Okay, not the New York Jets. They've been cold since about October. But the Jets are
like 2 years ago.
I
don't even follow the sport.
I'm going to predict that Cobra and I have a heated discussion later on in the show about whether there's a conspiracy among journalists in this country to keep UFO data.
It's all part of the cabal, my friend.
All right. What was that? What are you doing there, Juan-Juan? You're fooling with the knobs.
My headset volume is a little bit loud.
Oh, okay. We can't have that. So how are you doing there, CC?
Doing well, sir. Doing very well.
Okay. All right. More snow coming. That means that you have to get your airport up and running. And
that's correct.
Out from the snow again. Okay.
It's always a joy.
I see.
It's a joy.
Okay. He also wears a cape. We know
does.
that.
I know that.
Right. We just can't see it tonight, but I can imagine.
Sometimes he does look like Major Mudd, I have to admit.
Major Mudd, a very regional reference.
Very local reference there.
Yeah.
Very, very local.
I'll be blasting you.
Made the IBBY. I also predict that later on in the show we're going to give Juan-Juan some marijuana-infused jelly beans as an experiment.
Yeah, and then I'll be blasted.
To see what happens. You will be blasted.
I'm blasted, man.
And the circle is complete. So anyway, we have a fun-filled and also
we always have fun here.
Guest-filled show tonight. We're going to be talking to one of our favorite guests, Mary Joyce, down there. UFOs over cashiers, always very interesting. Cindy Bailey Dove.
Saucers
over cashiers.
Excuse me, skyships.
Skyships over. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Cobra. I'm glad you're here. We're going to be talking about Cindy Bailey with Cindy Bailey Dove because she sent me. She's usually a drone reporter, but she sent me this fascinating YouTube about the first sex robot has actually now gone on the market.
Right?
Did you see the video by any chance?
I did.
Wow. All
Very popular with the ladies is the male version, and I know that the apocalypse is upon us because they had a sex robot or something like it working a pole next to a live stripper pole dancer.
Really? Yeah.
Kind of a contest. Yeah.
That is,
so it's over.
It is
Civilization's
over.
over.
One of the things about this, we'll talk to her about it, is that not only and in this YouTube, they take the face off of the robot, so it's just the mechanical. Put a different face on, a different wig on, looks like a completely different woman. Okay, but you buy the heads and the bodies separately, and you can mix and match. They actually said mix and match. Okay, and then there's a male body and a male head that you can do the same thing. So it's unlimited fun.
Back in the day, you did it with scissors and a piece of paper, and you folded the tabs
and carbon paper. I used to trace Lois Lane in carbon paper and then add the nipples. That's a little bit of a.
Wow.
A bit of a confession
I didn't see that coming.
Wow.
Did you?
Sherry, yeah.
Give me another jelly bean.
Wow.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
Hands off my jelly beans.
I was only 4 years old. But the creative juices were already flowing.
That's true. If only we still have those kinds of juices now.
Right, I know.
We should have stored them up.
Who said I didn't? Anyway. We're also going to be talking to Emily Mittermeier about one of my favorite UFO classic cases about this RB-47 reconnaissance bombing that was literally harassed by a couple of UFOs over the Gulf of Mexico in the late 50s. And also Switchblade Steve will be joining us to tell us about two similar UFO instances. One of them took place over O'Hare.
Show, I think I'm going to.
Oh, you're going to check your heart rate?
That's right.
Very interesting. Another peek into your life. Anyway, the Falcone Entertainment Empire has installed something new here in our new studios in Exeter, New Hampshire. Now, for the first time, we're actually able to take calls from callers.
Wow, what a concept.
Yeah. So this is the first time we've done this, so why don't we just give this a try? Hang on. I think I have to do this. And push this button. And
This is the Alexander Graham Bell button.
Exactly. Watson, come here. Isn't that what he said?
Yeah. Watson, come here. I need you.
Yeah. Okay.
Something like that.
Was Watson his slave? Is that the angle?
Yeah. He might have been calling next door where Sherlock Holmes was.
What a coincidence that they live next door to each other. Okay, let's see if anyone's there. All right, I'm pushing this telephone. Okay, hello, caller. Are you there? You're listening to this is the Mack Maloney Show. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, yes. Hi, Cobra. Is he there?
No, he isn't here. He's coming on later on. Are you his grandmother?
It sounded like it.
Can you ask him if he got my present?
Okay. All right. This is our first phone call ever on this show. Can you tell us what the presents are, ma'am?
They have an expiration in breathing holes.
Huh?
Okay, let's take another call. Okay, hang on. Did she say what I think she said? It's a box with breathing holes in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, here we go. Hello, caller. Are you there? Hello? This is Mack Maloney?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hi, this is special message for Juan-Juan.
Okay.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another fan.
Hi, Juan-Juan.
Who's this? I'm
Do
here.
you remember me?
I sound like one of the black-eyed children.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew it. Great.
I just want...
I think I seen you down the corner.
Hi, I just want to let you know I'll probably see you in the parking lot again, okay?
I know I have seen you in the parking lot in the bushes.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Thank you, Black Eyed
Did you
Kid.
get a new lease? Okay.
Okay, bye. Hello, caller. You're on with Juan-Juan and Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call, Mac. Juan-Juan, just
Yes, sir.
wanted to know, listen, I'm representing Tom Brady as his lawyer.
Oh,
Did you
Oh,
get
great.
the cease and desist order that I had sent you?
I don't recall seeing that cease and desist order. Where am I supposed to desist from? drooling all over his book, or what?
You don't want me to say it over the radio.
Oh, I don't?
no,
Okay.
no.
Oh, man.
Thank you very much.
You
All right.
caught me. Guilty as charged.
You admitted it's you, so now I'll see you in court.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Does it involve a box of tissues?
We won't
Yeah,
go
and a
there.
bottle of aloe vera.
Oh, see.
On the sidelines. It's terrible.
There you go. Thank you very much. Okay, well, that went well.
It did.
Right? Okay, so probably
I'll
the
never
best
show
thing
my
to do-
face again and down Gillette, that's for sure.
Why don't we take a break and get back to the regular show? How's that? Okay.
We take a break. I feel broken already.
Yeah. Wait till Cobra hears that he has a box in the
Oh,
middle.
man.
Hi, you're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. We're in the middle of a very big show here tonight, but we had to stop everything in its tracks because a celebrity popped in on us. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, and when I say celebrity, I don't mean just these wackos in Hollywood. This is like a 1% of the 1%. His chauffeur,
So he's not wearing black then, is what
his
you're saying.
chauffeur is a 1%er. Okay, that's hi. It's the very famous Pistol Pete Falcone of the immense Falcone Entertainment Empire.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, I guess then you're set for 2018. Then that's enough to win a year's contract right there.
Okay, there you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bada bing. You're growing a beard. It looks very distinguished.
It's the time of year. It's my defense against the wind chill, the well below zero wind chill factor.
You told me it was about the Patriots.
And the girls dig it.
The girls dig it. I thought you were doing it for the Patriots or something.
Well, that too.
So it's multi-reasons.
I have grown a beard the last two times the Patriots have gone to the Super Bowl, so hopefully this will be on to well into February.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll see. All right, boy, between you two, I can see a lot of PB energy coming off of you there,
right.
TB energy. I mean.
TB all the way. I mean, everything. There's a movie coming out about his personal life. It's called Tom and Time.
No, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Tom Brady, we're
Yep.
talking about.
Which
When-
obviously
when-
will be followed up by Tom and Juan-Juan.
Tom and Juan.
I hope so. I hope
story.
so. And Quentin Tarantino's
Story for the edges. Oh, would he be the
The
perfect
director is Deepak Chopra's son,
Oh,
who
really?
lives in Lincoln, Massachusetts. Yeah.
Wow. Okay,
So,
the slums of Boston, huh?
A 60-second trailer has been issued via the New York Times, I guess as an embedded link in the story.
Right.
Just breaking news
Some
today.
PR.
Deepak Chopra's son.
Tom versus
Son,
Time.
what's his name?
Little Chopra.
Mary Little.
I
Yeah,
think
Little.
it's-
Oh, right. Pistol Pete coming in. Checking. So anyway, well, we should thank you again for inviting us to your new home here, WXEX in New Hampshire, as we were broadcasting from now.
Yeah, well, my pleasure. Happy to have you guys here. Adds a little excitement. The staff gets excited because they're all like, who are those guys? Who are they? What are they doing here? Where are they going?
They're so mysterious looking.
Yeah, really. Yeah. And they put mood lighting in the studio today for
They
us.
put there's new lights so you can...
Yeah, work the dimmer, Mac.
Work the dimmer? Okay.
I
It
wanna
is
get
radio.
In,
but
I want to
let's-
get into an intimate Tom Brady mood, you know.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, wow.
So we start talking about Tom Brady.
How about that?
Enhances the vibe.
We light a couple candles, man, and you didn't have it. Holy cow. Wow.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well,
Really.
Pistol Pete, thanks very much
Thanks
for
for having
us
us,
up
too.
here. Okay, even though the station is haunted, we didn't hear about that, ahead of time. But seen a few things. But thank you, Pete.
All right, carry on.
Okay,
See ya,
your
Pete.
limo was
Bye-bye.
waiting. Your limo
There
was
he
waiting
goes.
outside. There he goes. Right.
There he goes.
Wow.
The king of the empire here.
If I had
I'm
one
a little
100,
surprised there that you did not familiarize the Mac with pistol. Obviously, you want to socialize that a different way, I guess.
Yes, we did.
yeah. I don't know. What's he talking about?
I don't know.
Anyway,
We're
Mac.
keeping it intimate.
You've changed your on-air name.
the
You
Mac.
said you were going to go with the Mac.
I'm thinking about it. It's the jury's still.
And I thought, when you're talking about Tupac and Tupac's offspring, I thought the Mac was the perfect thing. I had to hold myself back here terribly
Who are you talking about? You talking about what's his name, son? Who are you talking about? What, a rap guy? The rap guy?
No, Deepak Chopra.
Oh,
Deepak Chopra.
Yeah, the guy from India or whatever.
Yeah,
Isn't he an
yeah.
advice guy or something? Who is he? I see his name. I don't know
He's
who he is.
he's like sort of a spiritualist.
Yeah,
Your inner self, good well-being, positive stuff.
Possibly a fraud, that type of guy.
You know, he's like a guru kind of guy.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, he gives good presentations on PBS.
I think that's the Indian word for fraud is guru. To tell the truth.
Eileen used to watch his YouTubes all the time.
Really? Yeah.
Deepak. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Interesting.
I used to call him Deepak Shakur, but Deepak Chopra.
Who am I thinking of? What was his name?
Tupac.
Yeah. Right. Tupac. Six-pack. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. But anyway, so
I can't wait till that movie comes out.
Yeah, right. And what's it going to be? Tom and Time?
It's Tom versus Time.
Oh, Tom versus Time.
And the 1-minute trailer that I haven't seen yet, but they've only played the audio on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
It shows him, with his family, with Giselle, and they're describing what Giselle looked like.
Grizzle. Oh, yeah, really? They want to frighten people? She's
not his sister. His sister might be in it later on. Who knows?
No, listen.
But
we've done this a million times, and you know that, is whenever I hear anyone say, oh, she's the most beautiful woman in the world, I say two things. Get some eyeglasses.
I don't agree with that. I think she's beautiful.
Look at her sister. I don't think she's beautiful. I don't think it comes anywhere near beautiful. I think it's the emperor has no clothes, man. Everyone thinks is told she's beautiful, so she's beautiful. Everyone says Ellen is funny. Yes, she's not funny.
You're right about that.
But, anyway, Cobra, I didn't introduce you before Pistol Pete came in, or did I? I can't remember.
No,
we were so
did.
excited.
That's okay.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. He sounds mad now, doesn't he? We should salute him. We haven't
sounds like
we're
disrespecting him.
Right, yeah. I'm good. Let's salute him.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Very nice, John. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
As you were.
All right. And you have to stay saluting until the superior officer.
That's right. Until
really?
It's returned, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, it's been returned, John.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you're walking down the street and an officer is coming your way,
you cross the street.
you have to bring up that salute, and hopefully he returns it by the time you get within like a couple of feet of each other. Otherwise, you got to stop.
Wow, what a vibe here! I just turned down the dimmer lights. Isn't it?
Doesn't it enhance the mood?
Yeah. Is it a little too dim, or maybe get a little
bit more juice?
How about that?
That's good. Okay.
Wow, we got to get some Tom Brady candles in here, baby, and some incense.
Cobra, you got to see it in here. Yeah. I could put up some colored gels.
Okay. Yeah.
And just
all right,
pin them to the tile.
Oh, the visual on that. They say radio doesn't make pictures. My mind is a movie running.
Just put a colored gel right over these things. I mean, that was the business I was in.
I know who the director is. I can tell you that from our earlier conversation.
Can't leave well enough alone, could you? Anyway, so Cobra, how are things with you? I'll start with you because this is the first time you two have been on. All three of us been on together
in a month.
In a long time.
Right. The Beatles broke up there for a little while.
Yeah.
But, we did have that press release that was out right before Christmas that got a lot of coverage where someone did a news story on the show the night before where, we go back to that thing about amnesty. A lot of soldiers, this is when the New York Times story came out and said that the government had been tracking UFOs all along after telling us for years that they weren't. And
it is a budget to prove it.
Yeah, and it has a. I mean, they did it. They basically came out with the story. But what we've always said was that because the people involved in it, the two Navy pilots came out and really talked and met the press a lot. And we said we've been saying here for years that there are a lot of service people who saw something and were told not to ever talk about it by the commanding officer and threatened. You lose your benefits and that kind of stuff.
You get drummed out of the Corps.
You get drummed out. So keep your mouth shut. There's got to be tens of thousands of people that happened to over the years. I'm guessing, and we said just give them amnesty. Have the Pentagon come out and say anyone that comes out and talks about seeing a UFO that they saw during their service time, feel free to come out, and there will be no repercussions and so on. Amnesty for these people, And so that's what the news story is about. A lot of people picked it up across the country. We mentioned your name, of course, Juan-Juan.
Oh, good.
Okay. And
I've seen
Cobra.
many.
And his sidekick.
Over my Virginia Beach location when I was in the Navy down there.
Mm-hmm.
Little Creek.
Little Creek, okay. What's okay.
It's just that was my amphibious. That's where the amphibious units were all.
You were in the amphibious units now?
Yeah.
While at the same time you were
the
like
Seabees.
You were
the SEALs all hailed from Little Creek, Virginia.
And what were you doing down there? What were you?
That's what they call the amphib base.
You like the suntan director?
I was in
or
the anti-submarine warfare, doing my anti-submarine thing.
Okay.
With my binoculars, like that Woody Allen movie, Radio Days. There is
another terrible movie.
Looking for Nazi submarines
Yeah.
on
Long Island. Yeah, another horrible director. Horrible. Doesn't know which
Good
end
movie.
Oh, come on.
Woody Allen is the best.
Oh, my God. What's the matter with you?
No. I love Woody Allen. There's some dogs, but
the Mack. Question for
yes,
there isn't that many dogs up the Seabrook track.
Midnight in Paris. Go watch that.
Horrible movie.
Question for the Mack.
Movie.
Go ahead, please.
Best director
ever of all time. It's going to sound crazy, but it's Sergio Leone.
I was just thinking of that. Yeah, spaghetti westerns.
Yep.
Yeah,
Love those.
Yeah.
My favorite movies: The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The long version. Sit down and watch that. Smoke a banana peel and watch that movie, baby. And you like, wow. It has so many ideas in it. It's like funny and then really violent and then funny
and Quentin does steal some of those ideas.
Oh, he rips them off.
He says that anyway. He
Yeah.
says that's what he does.
You bet. That's like my favorite movie of all time. That's it.
And that's the same guy doing the music.
That was. I have all his soundtracks too. It was his next door neighbor,
Ennio Morricone.
Morricone,
yeah.
Incredible soundtracks. I listen to soundtracks all day by him, man.
Yeah.
It's just the best music, really stirs up the movie too. Super.
When I'm watching those movies, I make sure I have a dozen cannoli beside me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
Leave the gun.
I enjoy it.
Take
man.
the cannolis.
Yeah. Right.
Best pastry ever invented.
So sure was. I had a few cannolis over Christmas, as it turns out. They're great, but baby, they're bad for the hips. So, Cobra, anything to
Well, I think
brief
I informed you. I had the very sad passing of my beloved wolf dog.
Yes.
Right before the holidays. So that was that put a bit of a damper on the jocularity of the season for us, but we knew it was coming. Been very busy with the storms. I've been doing quite a bit of in-depth research and trying to back up because I'm looking for the next installment on what we were talking about regards the press release. And thank you very much for the kindness of including me in that, because I'm convinced there's more to come, and I'm waiting for it to occur. So I don't know what the
Mac sent me the link to that story, link to the statistics. I couldn't follow it. Can you? Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention because my wife's been ill lately and she had heart surgery recently and stuff. But I looked at that quickly. That was the report that he sent out about our reach and coverage of the show. Is that what we're talking about?
No, the release from the Pentagon with the program on that, and we've been looking at additional people that probably had some kind of experience that has been suppressed or
we're talking about coming
So,
forward if they had experiences.
Yeah, coming forward and seeing how that was going to go. So I've been hoping that we're going to get something out of it. And I haven't seen anything come forward on it.
Nope, I haven't seen any stories at all.
It's a slow build, baby steps. Am I talking about the right thing?
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe it's going to be reported on the dark web.
Why don't we? What are you doing?
You know about the dark web?
Yeah, you told me about the dark web.
The dark web.
That's
right. I did a segment on it.
Right. Anyway, why don't we take a commercial break now and just put a brief end to this chitter-chatter. So you're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Very exciting show here tonight. We have a lot of people joining us, a lot of fun. And the studio with us tonight, girls, is the very famous Juan-Juan.
Yes, sir. 2
in a row. Their hearts are aflutter.
I'm having so much fun.
He's decked
my
out.
Juices are flowing, so look out.
From literally top to bottom in Patriots gear, including the cape, girls. Including the cape.
Oh, man, he's so cool.
Yeah. Also,
he is cooler than Aaron Rodgers. I'd have to say that Aaron Rodgers perhaps is a little bit more handsome, but...
What? What?
Yeah.
What?
I saw Aaron Rodgers in a commercial. and it's cool. It's really cool. It does look
Really?
pretty good, yeah.
Boy, this is confessional time. Yeah. Anyway, in another show. Also from the undisclosed location way up north, it's Coco.
Good evening, gentlemen.
And on the phone with us is one of our favorite guests, Cindy Bailey-Dove, our drone reporter. How you doing there tonight, Cindy?
I'm doing great. I hope you guys had a happy New Year.
We did. It was cold, but it was happy.
Good.
Because we were drunk the entire time. So now let's get right to this. Cindy, you sent me a video the other day. Now, we exchange videos often in between your appearances here on the show as our drone reporter. And it's usually something very interesting about what's new in drones, or actually what might be old in drones that is new again. But this one you sent me was of the first operational sex robot. Okay, I wrote to you and I said, "Did you send this to me by mistake?" You said no. So we are forced to discuss it tonight because I think it's fascinating. First of all, wasn't that one of the creepiest YouTubes you've ever seen in your life?
Yes.
It was
It was a YouTube video, you guys, and this guy is actually selling these things.
Right. It was the inventor, and then this other creepy guy who looks like he's like from some really bad porn movie. And they're talking about it, and in between them is just a head, and it looks like, you know, those things that people put wigs on, you know, they're kind of like head-shaped things.
Like mannequin heads.
Yes, right, exactly. But this thing's very elaborate, had a woman's face, blonde hair, her eyes move, a lot of, here it is, Juan-Juan is showing it to me. Oh, boy, yeah, that's the creepy guy who was there. And
it's crazy.
And to look at it, I mean, I couldn't take my eyes off of this robot head because its facial expressions were, you know, becoming to the point now where these things are becoming really kind of human-like, winking the eyes and the mouth moving and so on. But then these two guys go on to talk about it in such technical terms that, you know, what they can do, what the sex robot can do and everything. And I mean, it gets explicit. We don't have to go down that road, you can imagine.
I hope this isn't where artificial intelligence is coming in, because it's driving me crazy.
Yes, of course. This will be the forefront of that.
My oldest daughter's getting a PhD in it.
Really? Okay, well, we should have her on the show.
We should.
And then in the middle of this, where they're talking about how this really workable sex robot, we're now in the era of these things, they take the robot's face off, and for me, that was the creepiest part, right, Cindy?
It was very creepy.
You know, and then they put another face on, and it looks like a completely different woman, completely different head, completely different hairstyle, different wig, and they're talking about how you can mix and match these things. Okay, you buy the body.
Yeah, they put a different face on too.
Right. Yes. Right. You buy the body separately. Juan-Juan. He's taking notes seriously here. And then you buy the head separately. Interchangeable parts, and you put a different head on, and they're going into how the hands, the fingers can grapple, and so
was that Yiddish?
Wow. It was. He's so verklempt. He expressed himself in Yiddish.
There you go. Exactly. So
with an Irish dialect.
Please save us and tell us, what is the military application for this? Is there one?
Well, I wouldn't think that there'd be an application for the sex doll part of it.
Okay.
But what I was trying to show was just how advanced and intricate this stuff is now. Mm-hmm. Because even though this head had just thousands of tiny little parts they had to put together, then they also had at the UN a robot like this that looked exactly like a human and talked and everything else, and she's AI. There's a video online, you can find it.
You said she's AI?
Yes.
You said?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not the only thing, guys. About 3 months ago, all of a sudden, I started finding all these articles about AI as if it was already here. And, I find these articles, a medical field using AI, and they've got now where their terms of just saying AI all the time about their technology, commercially and everything. And it's like that, they just didn't come out and announce it. They just keep putting they're talking about it, and then one day we'll all know about it.
Right. I mean, I think I think it's at the point now, that what is seen on this YouTube video. I mean, you're not going to mistake it for a human being, but it's very, very. They're getting very, very close to creating.
It's like those fancy cars. You always have a concept car, and then you have the real McCoy.
Yep.
This is like a concept, I think.
Right.
Sex robot, but it's
and filled with
getting weird.
Yeah, filled with AI. We'll be able to have a conversation with you and so on and so forth. Okay. Someone did you tell me that you saw that they had a robot on a pole in a strip club somewhere? Did you tell me that?
No, it wasn't me.
Who told?
No, that was I.
Oh, that's Cobra. Okay,
Commander Cobra delving into the areas where the intel gets darkest. Yes, they had a contest between
the dark web.
pole dancers and the robotic pole dancer.
Okay.
I didn't stay long enough to see the end result, the win, but I do want to answer a military application question for you.
Please. Yes, please.
In China, where the male population is greater than 3 to 1.
Yep.
Male to female.
Yes.
The Chinese are actively preparing to make these companions for the vast number of men that will not be able to have wives.
Wow. Okay.
So if you start deploying, and it's always been an age-old problem, right? Troops deploy, insufficient or problems with engaging with the local populace, the disease issue.
Right.
I think that they see this as a solution.
The drinks and dinner issue.
Also, you think that
Who
they
pays?
can't reproduce with these things either. You can't get anybody pregnant.
Right.
Right. So you don't have the social disease issue. Everybody can have their own. And if you don't have enough of them, apparently you can shift out the looks.
Yep.
You get tired, you can trade it in.
Mix and match.
Change the heads. You say, give me that head over there. No, give me that head.
So
Right.
Careful how you're throwing that around. I think the jellybeans are talking
Yes,
there.
right,
So just slow up just a teeny bit there, crazy man.
JJ.
And
Okay.
But on a serious point, though, how much does this
things out.
dehumanize people? That's the thing.
Right.
I know.
Go ahead, Cindy, please.
Well, Japan is really putting out, and I mean, they are almost.
Again, Cindy,
Japan is really putting out. You heard that right.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
They're making these robots that look really almost human.
Right. Yep. One of them addressed the UN the other day. Did you see that? They had a robot address the UN.
I didn't see that. No.
And
yes, that's what I was
very,
telling you.
very
Yeah.
real. And they were asking it questions. It's filled with AI. And it's asking us questions, and it's answering the questions, just like a human would. It's very strange. It's getting very, very weird, So,
right.
So you can throw away that blow-up doll there, Juan-Juan, of Tom Brady.
Finally.
Right?
Wait a minute. It's
I've got
classic.
one more thing
It's
more I wanna
vintage.
tell you about.
Yes, go ahead.
I've got a 1956 Popular Science, January Popular Science, 1956.
Mm-hmm.
Magazine. There are pictures of drones,
Interesting. Yep.
and here it's got the little thing. It goes in here: drones, the small craft, carry cameras for army, arsenal, however. It goes on and on.
Mm-hmm.
So shows the drones and goes into how they're using them.
Right. Well, and that was 1956, so that
was January 1956.
Talk about a leading edge magazine.
60 years ago. I can't do the math.
Right.
Wow. It's
Right.
funny. What would be really funny if they had a sex robot story in that.
Oh, they know.
Somewhere in the back
I mean,
where the ads are, I think, maybe.
Do you see Cobra or Cindy? I mean, so they're doing sex robots. Okay, they're doing robots with artificial intelligence. Do you ever see the day when there'll be robot soldiers? Let's start with Cobra.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're already working on that. I'm sure Cobra could tell you that. Yeah.
I also think there's going to be a lot of augmentation to that, meaning you're going to have the exoskeleton type suits.
Right.
That's been experimented with a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
They already have the drone canine, the robotic canines that are there.
Don't have to.
And I think the
walk.
more interesting area that's among us right now that we're not seeing are micro drones, micro robots that look like insects that are able to gather their energy source from the environment and swarm and do all this kind of work going on right now.
Wow.
That's right. In fact, I had an article about that. There's a video on YouTube you can pull out where it shows them using swarm drones.
Mm-hmm.
And now these swarm drones are small drones, and basically they swarm. They are connected together. I mean, it's really, when you see this video, it's crazy. They just release all these, and there's just, all across the sky, they got these. They can use them to, spy. They can use it to attack.
Wow.
And along with that is the fly drones. That little fly robots.
Yep.
This is all absolute. Now, there's a story that said, Russia's saying that we attacked them in Syria, one of their bases, with the swarm drones.
Mm-hmm.
But, the military's denying it.
Right. Well, we're in this. We're in the new age. We're in the Jetsons.
This is amazing.
Age, you know, and it seems to be happening very, very quickly too. It really does.
We're joking about it now.
Right.
We're laughing about it. We're saying, "Wow, this is popular science run amok." But it's kind of frightening.
Go ahead,
Cindy.
Here's the Newsweek. U.S. military wants bat drones with lasers.
Wow.
This is the real story. This is out of Newsweek. This is not made up.
This is bat drones? Bat drones?
With lasers.
BAD drones with lasers.
Wow.
I kid you not.
Wow.
In the article, all in here, the guy makes the joke that apparently we're all living in Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, really? Yeah.
It even comes with a little video if anybody wants to look. It shows a video. This is on Newsweek.
Mm-hmm.
U.S. military wants bat with drones with lasers.
Wow. Well, it's here.
Yeah, this stuff is coming out faster. And then there's another one, military Air Force could test flying aircraft carriers as early as next year.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah. That's interesting.
You remember me talking about these giant craft. And what they do is they basically launch drones.
Mm-hmm.
Then they could 3D print these drones on the craft for whatever use they want to.
Crazy.
Yes.
Crazy.
And COVID probably knows about that too.
I'm sure.
And there are these things are out.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I've seen them with my own eyes.
Right.
Not just me. There's everybody in Arkansas knows about these. They fly all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Well, welcome to the new age.
Basically,
welcome to the
like
new
that movie, The Bingers.
Right. Yes. Right.
It's called a Gremlin Project.
Right. Yep. That's excellent. Cindy Bailey Dove, you are a drone reporter, and apparently now you're a sex robot reporter. Thank you very much.
You're no drone when you come into that department.
There you go. Hang on.
Wow.
Juan-Juan, the jellybeans kicking in. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and we will talk to you soon. Everything's okay down in Arkansas? The family is good?
Yes.
Okay.
We got snow today.
Yikes.
We never get snow, so
wow.
we're all excited.
Congratulations.
We will talk to you in a few weeks, okay?
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy.
Bye, Cindy.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for that report.
Talk to you soon. Okay.
Scaring the living
Jesus
really
out of me. Why don't we take a commercial break and regroup here? You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney in the studio with us tonight. The very famous Juan-Juan is here.
Oh.
He's decked from head to toe in Patriots gear, including the cape, girls. Yes, including the cape. Okay, he's very optimistic about what's going to happen to the Patriots.
No, you know it.
Also on the line with us from the undisclosed location, Commander Cobra is here.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Okay. Anything new with you, Cobra, that you can tell us in 7 seconds?
There's some interesting advances coming out in the aviation world in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. I thought you were going to talk about your goats, but your baby goats still
I'm the one that talks about the goat.
Baby goats are doing outstanding.
Okay. See, that's what happens with breastfeeding, They'll hang in with you there.
Oh, yeah, breastfeeding is nothing like it.
Also, on the phone with us is one of our favorite guests, Mary Joyce.
Hi there. It's always nice to talk to the famous trio.
Oh, wow. How about that? Okay. You have one of the best websites on the Internet having to do with UFOs and things like that. Sky Ships Over Cashiers. Do we say that right?
You did? That works.
How long have you been doing that website? Because it's really full of information. I love it.
Yeah, we have huge archives. We started this in the summer of 2008, so this coming summer it'll be exactly 10 years.
Okay, and remind people what part of the country you're in again?
I'm in the mountains of western North Carolina.
There you go. Beautiful.
We're at the tail end of your weather storm that you're getting.
Oh,
we're going to be getting it too.
Oh, yikes. Beautiful part of the country when the weather is nice, right?
That's right.
Right.
At least our snow doesn't last as long as yours does.
Oh, boy. Oh. You know, sometimes it lasts a day up here. Sometimes it lasts for 2 or 3 months.
It's very weak snow.
Yeah. So Mary, you know, what's new? What's new in the world of UFOs?
Well, I want to bring up something from what the Cobra had to say, and that is, are you familiar, I'm sure you are, with the alien replica vehicle that's gotten some attention on the YouTube? Let's see if I remember what it's called. Anyhow, it's one that goes at a Mach 6, and they found it down in a small airport west of Jupiter. And no doubt you're familiar with it.
I have not heard about that.
It's a story we'll be posting. I'll be sending it to the webmaster on Friday. So the first of next week, it'll be posted on our website. And what I did was I used Google Earth with a little bit of information I had and started doing my own searching. And I did find it. So
it's a very interesting craft, isn't it, Mary?
It is. It's shaped like a diamond. And
at a Pratt & Whitney facility with a closed runway just to the west of it. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. And
I like the state.
I also found it interesting that in 2014, Pratt & Whitney opened a engine center in West Palm Beach. And when they opened it, the company president, Paul Adams, said, "This new facility will help produce some of the most innovative and revolutionary engines the aerospace industry has ever seen. Our work is defining the future of aviation." And when I talked to one of our military sources, he says it does go at a speed of Mach 6, which is like more than 4,500 miles per hour.
Wow.
Now, there are some that are kind of similar in shape that will go faster, but they aren't manned. And my understanding is this will be a manned vehicle. And if people are interested in this kind of thing, it'll be on our website next week.
Mary, the other thing is you need to talk a little bit about Mysterious Outpost TV. Great stuff that you guys have been doing.
Thank you. So we just don't know what's going to happen. It's just kind of interesting. Things keep popping up.
What's it called? Mysterious Outpost TV?
Yep. If you go to Skyships, overcashers.com, go to the editors section. You'll have a great cornucopia of delights there. One of the things I do hope that you would speak to for a couple seconds is the UFO activity over Syria, which is near and dear to Mack's work with his UFOs in Wartime series that he put out. You have anything you want to add to that?
I can't. I tend to stick to the things where I can see the people and see the sites and where I have more firsthand contact. And I really don't have much knowledge to share about Syria.
Okay.
I know for a long, long time they have used vehicles that are essentially spy planes that look like UFOs, and they fly them over war zones or areas that are in dispute, so they hope they can get away with doing things that a regular plane might not get away with.
I think that you have captured very succinctly and very nicely a big part of the reason that you see these types of craft. I think you were very much correct.
Yes, and I'm trying to make that point on the website with this next article that's coming up. Not only do I have that, but I also have photos that were snapped 3 days before, I think it was Hurricane Irma hit in September. And you can see all these, what I believe are advanced aircraft fleeing from McGill Air Force Base before the storm hit. And somebody was there with a camera and got 3 shots of these vehicles. So
can you direct me to the link to that?
And too many people think they're UFOs, and they're not.
And I think that's part of the. I think that's part of the overall plan is to keep that off balance, to keep that disinformation, to keep that discussion pitched. It's a convenient cover for a lot.
Makes it easy for it makes it easy. That's all I can say.
You mean denying all these visions as being UFOs is making it easy to just keep it all?
Or saying that everything that goes by is a UFO and giving that person or those groups a lot of center attention to the discussion, because what that does is it takes out vast numbers of the population that just dismiss it and say, well, it's tinfoil line hat people talking, and any time you come out afterwards with substantial information, it's discredited, or it has a lot of tax on it before it ever comes forward. And if you take someone like Michael Schratt, who takes the opposite approach, he comes from a very, very disciplined engineering side of it, so he's very critical. If it doesn't fit, then he tends to think that it's not going to be legitimate. So between those two worlds, I think folks like Mary, I know myself, operate. I tend to be very skeptical, but I'm very much a believer. Doesn't mean I accept everything that comes forward. I won't deny that many people believe what they see and the conclusions they draw, but it doesn't necessarily mean that is what the reality of it is.
Since you're clearly able to get to the website, open up the Skyship Photos section, and the very first article for this year, scroll down and take a look at the images of the UFO, and tell me what you think when you see that image.
Okay, I will. I'll work towards that. That's under your editor's corner?
That's the...
No. Go to the home page and then open up Skyship Photos. It's the very top one in that section.
Unique UFO over Cashiers, North Carolina.
That's right.
3 panels.
Yeah, that's a great picture.
Yep.
And I didn't put this in the article because I don't want to make assumptions and do theories, that are just off the top of my head. But when I look at that, it kind of looks like a cone shape on the bottom.
Yep.
And it looks like one of those UFOs that's shaped a little bit like the kind that they had with the Germans back in World War II, that's lifting off from it. And those are 3 sequential pictures, and it just looks like it's launching. But, of course, I didn't say that in the article because I could be way off base.
Right. Mary, let me ask you this, because this is the first time we've talked to you, and Juan-Juan has shown me, wow, those are dramatic pictures. Holy cow. This is the first time we've talked to you since that revelation that came out in the New York Times late last year that the U.S. government has been looking into UFOs after, telling us they haven't been for the past 50 years or so. It turns out that they were. I'm sure you saw the video shot by the F-18 pilots in the interviews. What's your take on this? I mean, I suppose, like all of us, you didn't buy into completely that the U.S. wasn't looking into UFOs, but this revelation made by them at this time, does it mean anything to you, or is it just more noise?
Well, they're only exposing just a little bit of what they actually know. So it's a little bit of a sidestepping of the issue, acknowledging it and yet not fully explaining it.
Why do you think they did it at that particular time?
I think there's some kind of pressure, or they wouldn't be doing it. Because they haven't changed their, there's so much more to say and they haven't said it, so they're just eking out with as little as they can to give the appearance that they're very open and wonderful.
You think that the pressure is coming from the new resident of the White House?
I don't know. No, I don't.
Okay. It just seemed like it was an odd thing, an odd time for them to come out with that, and it really kind of came out of the blue. And I'm saying...
Guess what we're doing, and look at our budget. But we need to refund it.
And they talked about a budget as if $22 million is, that's paperclip money for the Pentagon. I just thought the timing was just very kind of unusual, I mean...
Well, there may be something in the wings that they're aware of, and so when that becomes exposed, whatever that might be, they don't want to look like they were total idiots.
Right.
So they've exposed a little bit. So
another
I think
shoe.
It's
another shoe to drop
in some way or another.
Right. Yeah. Another shoe to drop. In other words.
Right.
Right. Do you the people who, and I know there are a lot of people out there who have been, lobbying for disclosure. The disclosure, movement in this country has been going on for quite a while. I'm not in touch with any of those people, directly, but do you think that this was, possibly something like throwing a bone to the disclosure people?
Possibly, because they may be part of the effort to put pressure on the government to do something. So maybe just to kind of get the pressure off of them in that way, they, as you said, threw them a bone. That's possible. That's very possible.
Cool, but
there also could be something bigger in the wing, in the wind, that they aren't acknowledging at all.
Right.
It has nothing to do with those that are pushing for disclosure, and they just don't want to look totally stupid if something big happens.
Cobra, let me ask you kind of like the same question. Is this like setting the table for something?
Yes, and I think that there's it's not. None of this is linear. It's pretty complex. What I mean by that is, Mary, I think, is right on the money. People don't want to be caught with fingers pointing that they were suppressing information. And I do think that it has a lot to do with the occupant in the White House because of the way this stuff was released about Kennedy's assassination, those files. It's a bit of a wild card. There's for whatever reasons, a lot of this stuff seems to be coming out, and there's other things that are happening with files, with historical information, and almost anything is up for grabs. Also, the gentleman, I can't remember his name, that was the head of this project up to 2012 before it supposedly closed, which I think just simply turned into a different name with a different budget someplace else. Mr. Bigelow, all the folks that are involved, Senator Reid and the other senators that were involved, supporting the private contract and the funding to go forward with this. Those elements are putting a lot of pressure into this system as well, and I think more is going to come out, and it's going to come out from sources that are not from the government, but sources that had government access, and they're preparing that part of it. So, yep, it's a placeholder. It's to point to and say, look, we showed you what we could, but we had other. What's the favorite line? We have issues of national security. It doesn't allow us to go into any more depth on this. And I think other things are coming forward. I'll be very surprised by Valentine's Day of 18 if there isn't another set of disclosures that comes out. Oh,
okay. So it'd be kind of like the dribs and drabs approach to it?
Yep, and I think it's also a measure that's being used to see how people are responding to this. Is this going to be something that can be used as a way to capture the attention of what's going on? Good case in point, we recently had the false alarm that went on in Hawaii.
Okay.
And there's nothing in my mind that there's any possibility that was a mistake or a single switch was thrown or any of that kind of nonsense that's been talked about. And it went on for 30 minutes. But a very interesting thing I read, and I talked to one of my buds, a retired SEAL that lives out there, who said it was a very interesting cup of coffee he was getting when the announcement came off. Talk about another December 7th, right? You know, type situation. But he said that very quickly the police knew that it was a false alarm.
Okay.
Within 5 to 6 minutes.
It did nothing about it, you mean? Type of thing?
Well, there wasn't much.
That's come out on regular television news too. That they knew that, and they didn't.
Why did it take so long?
Right. That's
to get
the big
populace centered back up. What's being measured there? What is being looked at? It's just amazing.
The reaction has to be, is being measured. Just going back to UFOs for a second. Later on in the show tonight, Mary, we're going to be talking to two of our correspondents, and they're going to be talking about, let's say, classic UFO incidents. And one of them I know has to do with two relatively small red lights that trailed and literally flew rings around a RB-47 bomber back in the late 50s over the Gulf of Mexico. And then also the kind of famous UFO sighting over O'Hare Airport in the early 2000s and also over the English Channel. And the difference between them was that with the RB-47 incident, as I said, they were kind of relatively small red lights trailing this jet for about 600 miles. The UFOs spotted over O'Hare and over the English Channel were enormous. I mean, one of them over the English Channel could be seen from 50 miles away. In my mind, and I want to ask you if you feel this way too, there has to be, I mean, the fact that there are different kinds of UFOs, in a way, proves that they exist. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Are you saying because there's so many, they can't not exist?
Right,
there has
exactly.
to be some that exist.
Right, yes.
It's just crazy that everybody's seeing all these things, and all of them are
and they don't see the same thing. They don't see the same thing.
Right.
They see different things. So to me, that means, well, these things, they have to exist because there's lots of them, lots of designs and so on and so forth. down there where you are, Mary, is there a certain kind of UFO that is seen all the time, or is it this kind of variety pack?
Oh, we get a variety, and if somebody really wants to look at the different kinds of things that we've seen that are really oddball, again, go into they can do it after the show, Skyship Photos, and go into the 2015 archives and just scroll through there, because we have some real odd ones. I mean, we don't even put up pictures where people have just seen the one single ball of light anymore, because those are boring after a while, and so the ones that are more unique are the ones that we post. And that just happened to be a good year. We had UFOs that looked like kind of a cross between an asteroid and a metallic-looking pine cone. And we had another one where there was 4 of them, and somebody actually caught it on the camera, and the 4 morphed into numbers in the sky, and the number was, I think, 1619. I mean, just bizarre things that I do not see very commonly, in YouTube videos that people do.
Right, 1619. Juan-Juan, let's play that tomorrow in the numbers, okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, another question I wanted to ask you is that in the few minutes we have left, have you ever heard of the zoo theory, where the idea is that these UFOs are from another place, other planets, other galaxies, another time, and they're looking in on us just like zookeepers look in on animals in a zoo. They don't necessarily interact with us. They're just kind of
making observations.
What do you think? I mean, that
throwing us a peanut every so often.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I mean, on one level, that kind of makes sense to me. How about you?
I don't think the motivation for all ETs is the same. And I think ultimately their goal is to take over the planet. They want the resources, whatever their reason is. And there's others that are here, I think, as scientists from some other aspect of the universe that truly are looking and studying us and the other creatures on the planet. And it makes me think of an old Twilight Zone movie, I think, where these people were in a wonderful home and it looked beautiful. And then finally, when the camera backs up, you see that they are in a cage like we would have in a zoo, and people from somewhere else are just observing them.
I love that episode. When do you, and I think I ask you this every time you're on, if you had to guess, when do you think we will know what UFOs are? Is it something that's going to happen, within the next 5 years, or is it still decades away?
I'd be surprised if it doesn't happen within that time. Absolutely be surprised.
And will it be because of them finally kind of showing themselves to us, or how do you think the revelation is going to be made?
I think because we continue to see more and more, that's preparing people in one way for a more undeniable appearance. So the fact that the sightings are increasing noticeably is an indication that something like that would happen sooner than later.
Right. And also a theme of the show tonight that we've talked about on other segments and segments in the future is how the press handles this. And I'll say it again until, people are probably sick of me saying it or hearing me say it. Why is this ridicule factor has been in the press since UFOs, since the word flying saucers came into our lexicon in the late 40s, where even when the reports that came out last month, we had newscasters on national news shows kind of making fun of the video and so on. Why don't you think that journalists would be... Why don't they go after what could be the biggest story in all of humankind? Why do you think they make fun of it as opposed to seriously looking into it? Scientists can't do it because they have their reputations and their funding to protect. But doesn't it seem like there'd be some really, smart journalists out there that would latch onto it and look into it instead of making fun of it?
First of all, there's less of that than there used to be. So there have been strides made in being more respectful and open to the possibility. That's a plus. Let's see here. I don't know what else to say to this. there are very few people or organizations that run a multitude of media outlets. And so the media is still being controlled. Okay. And so if the top guns don't want too much of this out, then they're not going to let it out. Mm-hmm. And there are people in the media who know so much more, and they can't get the stories on.
Mary Joyce, can I jump in on real quick on this?
Absolutely.
I want to ask one question to you, or make one comment, your reaction.
2 minutes.
Do you think that the increase in the amount of information are cracks in that control, or cracks in that system of suppressing? Because I'm one that believes that the media is just an instrument of manipulation and the classical ministry of information. It's journalism is dead. Mack has brought that up a number of times. I think that these are just indications that we are seeing the cracks in that control, and things like the new media, the internet, the way this show is presented on the internet, are all forces that are causing this thing to finally shear open.
We have to diligently protect the independence of the internet, because the internet absolutely has been a primary force in getting not only this, but like health information that's an alternative version. It's gotten a lot of things out there to a whole lot of people that would never have gotten out there without the internet. Right. So the internet's been a tool to crack it open, quite clearly.
The internet is a blessing and a curse. You have to wade through a lot of stuff, but there is stuff on there that, you have access to information that, has never been accessible before. Mary Joyce, thanks for joining us tonight. The time went by way too quick. Yeah. We always enjoy talking to you. You have one of the best websites on the net. Skyships.
Some great photography on here, too.
Super duper pictures.
Unbelievable.
Always something new. Always very up to date.
Of course, all of it's photoshopped, right?
No,
there's not, as far as I know, there's not a one, and I personally don't know how to Photoshop.
Yeah,
so
neither do I.
I can't be guilty.
I mean,
of
that's
that.
That's the explanation by all the those morons are just saying.
Mary Joyce, we apologize. That's the jellybeans talking.
He's just the jellybeans tonight.
All a bunch of hippies out there smoking weed and conjuring up all these images. It's all bullshit.
Mary, thanks for joining us tonight. We really enjoy talking to you, and let's talk soon, okay?
Okay. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you, Mary Joyce.
Great.
Thanks, Mary Joyce.
Skyships Over Cashiers is a really, really good website. I'll tell you what. Why don't we do this now, gang? Why don't we take a commercial break now? And when we come back, I think we will be talking to Emily M. and also Switcherino. Okay?
Yep.
You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this.
UFO.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. A very exciting show for you tonight. Have a lot of people on, but, before we get to our next guest, Emily Minnemeyer, going to give us a report on a really interesting UFO sighting back in the 50s. Juan-Juan is here. The very famous Juan-Juan is here.
Yes, sir. How you doing, Mac? Glad to be here as always.
And I have a present
Especially when you told me that Emily was going to be on.
Right. It brightens up a night.
Yeah.
If not a day. Juan-Juan, I have a present for you. I'm ambushing you with a present.
Oh.
On the air.
Okay.
Emily, stand by for hilarity, okay?
Okay.
All right, open that up. I'm handing him a bag.
A bag.
That is
with a ribbon on
it. With a red ribbon on it, which he is fumbling with. It's very exciting. Maybe we'll put some music underneath it. No, where'd the bag come from? Look at the bag.
The bag says, Yummy's Candies.
Okay.
In Kittery, I think I know what it is. It's jelly beans, and it's alleged that...
Go ahead.
The jelly beans are what? Do you want to say it?
No, I want you to say it.
Okay. It's alleged that these Jelly Belly jelly beans from this awesome candy place up in Kittery, Maine, might be laced with cannabis.
No! Yes, I'm afraid it's true.
Yep. That's the scuttlebutt.
Right.
Around town.
Well, I'll tell you, there was a line around the corner to get in there, so I'm tending to believe it. So why don't you just eat one at a time?
Okay, I'm going to be very...
And put that heart monitor on you, and let's see what happens. Okay.
I'm going to be very slow at attacking this bag of beans.
Okay.
I mean, if two of us start eating them, we're going to really be in trouble.
It'll just be like a typical show.
We'll have to put the show on autopilot, which means Cobra's going to have to get involved.
Oh boy, we don't want that. Well, Emily, I'm glad you were here for that. So, how are things with you?
Things are pretty good.
Okay. Out in Cincinnati.
Haven't talked to you guys in a while.
Right. You were down in Miami last week. How did that go?
Oh, it was fantastic.
Really? Fantastic? In what way? Tell us.
Well, it was a luxury resort on the beach, paid for by my work.
Nice.
Really?
So.
And the weather was nice?
Better than that.
Weather was good?
What's that?
Was the weather good?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was better than the 2 degrees it was here when I left.
Yeah, well, you joined the club.
Or
it
two
was
below,
like,
or
2
10
below.
below.
And so, what was it, like a function? Was there dinners involved, cocktail parties and stuff? 1, 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a function for our top sales earners and those who helped them be top sales earners, which was me. I don't do sales.
Sales support people.
But I help.
Sales support.
In
many companies, the sales support team, which sounds like what Emily is part of,
yes,
and the service support team are like the low ranks on the totem pole. They don't get the dinners, they don't get the trips. They get accolades, but they get the attaboys and maybe a little bit of dough, but they don't get the trips. But it sounds like you got the trip.
Got the trip.
I did.
Which means you work for a fabulous company.
Now, I want to just ask a personal question. You don't have to answer this if you don't want to. You're in a crowded room with a bunch of, people drinking cocktail and, kind of schmoozing and stuff. Do guys hit on you?
Telling inappropriate jokes.
Right. Do guys hit on you on a regular basis?
No. At work, no.
No?
No, they don't.
But did you know everyone who was there?
Yeah, pretty much.
I suppose in these days you probably kind of
these days you get, even if it's a company sponsored party or
you gotta.
I don't care if you have the party in your own house.
You gotta reel it in.
You gotta be on your toes.
Okay, all right.
Right, Emily?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's kind of unfortunate because it puts a damper on all kinds of
look at all
fun
the
and frivolity.
And in future, love affairs and marriages and stuff like that. But anyway,
that's where you meet people at work and at church.
Right. Meet and greet. I don't know about the church, but definitely at work. Anyway, I don't know what church you go to. What church do you go to?
Well, I go to a Baptist church, so there's not going to be a whole lot of fun and frivolity. Well, there is. They're not,
Swinging singles at the Baptist church?
It's different.
Doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, why don't we get to
I meet most people at funerals.
There you go. Boy, is that another show?
It is.
Emily, you have an interesting UFO incident tonight. It's one of my favorite. Why don't you tell us about it?
I do, sure. So the incident that I have been researching, and I'm going to plug your book here, Mac, because I read it as part of my research, The UFOs in Wartime.
This is my publisher calling.
Fantastic, by the way.
That's his publisher getting ready to write the royalty check.
So the incident that I read up on was one that happened in 1957. And there was an Air Force RB-47 jet that had left Forbes Air Force Base in Topeka, Kansas, and it looks like it sounds like it was heading out for some training and drills out over the Gulf of Mexico and kind of in that area. And it was a jet that had, I think it had 2 pilots, a navigator, and 3 people who worked the equipment that was on the jet that was the electronic warfare, or they were the electronic warfare officers, and they were in charge of the ECM gear, electronic countermeasure.
Electronic
countermeasure,
right?
That was used to be able to detect electromagnetic radiation coming from the ground, like radar stations, so they could identify, where enemy radar stations are and blow those up. And so they were out there running some drills, and so they had all this sophisticated equipment on board, and then as well as a few extra people, because I think normally those planes had, 3 people on them maybe, but this one had 6. And so they were out, they'd left the base, and it started out, it was just a crazy series of events that happened while they were out there doing these drills. The first of which being one of the guys monitoring the ECM equipment noticed a signal on it, like it was picking up a normal, like a radar station on the ground. Right. But they were over the Gulf of Mexico. So I don't know what would have been in the water, giving off that pulse frequency that they'd be able to pick up on. But that was the first weird part. And then he noticed that it started, whatever this was started flying, like circling around the jet, which again, very odd. What kind of aircraft would do that or would be doing that they, couldn't identify. And so this is, again, one of the equipment officers in the back of the plane seeing this. And he didn't say anything, I don't think, to anyone else at the time. But then the pilot of the aircraft sees this bright light in front of him, or I think maybe off to his left, but it was like at the same altitude, sees this bright light. And before he could even take any action to not hit whatever this craft was, it crossed in front of the aircraft and just disappeared. Wow. And so that's when the pilot and the guys manning the equipment in the back, were talking and realized and shared with each other what they had just seen, both on the radar and, with their own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And then
this was a daylight operation?
At night.
Oh, at night. Okay.
Yep. Nighttime. Okay. Nighttime. And then they picked up that same radar signal again, this time with whatever it was, seemed to be flying alongside the plane. The pilot again sees a bright light.
Oh, no internet connection.
Oh.
People manning the equipment.
Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. We had a little interference.
We lost you for a second. Go ahead. Continue.
Am I back?
Yep.
Okay. So pilot sees another bright light. The guys monitoring the equipment now see two blips on their radar. And then as soon as that happens, the pilot then sees two lights out, the front of the craft, red lights.
Mm-hmm.
And so at this point, they contacted a nearby radar station, down on the ground that confirmed what they were seeing on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the people on the plane seeing it with their own eyes, the people monitoring the equipment on the aircraft seeing it, and then people on the ground seeing this on radar as well. These two separate spots, exactly in the same spot as where the men on the plane had reported seeing them.
Right. Let me just cut in here. This airplane was an interesting airplane. The B-47 they needed a bomber in the 50s before the B-52 came online. Mm-hmm. So what they did is they took a fighter plane and they just elongated it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So what it looks like a stretched out fighter plane. And as Emily said, that usually the crew was three, but when this particular plane, in the fuselage itself, where they would normally put the bombs, they had all this ECM equipment.
Right.
Okay, and the ECM equipment for back then was like very sensitive to anything, enemy radar stations, obviously enemy airplanes and stuff like that. Mm. So what's cool about this is Emily, I'm sure is going to tell us, is that not only do you have these weird UFOs flying around this plane, not only are people seeing them on radar on the ground and on the plane itself, but visually seeing them, and they're let's say following a plane that's full of detection equipment.
Right.
Okay, so you can't be wrong about this, right, Em?
Right, exactly.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so it's at this point that all this has been happening, and the pilot requests permission to be able to pursue whatever this craft is that's circling the plane, showing up on the radar that they're seeing. And as soon as they do, I think that it went that the pilot, was speeding towards whatever this object was. And then at some point, the object just stopped. It was no longer moving. Therefore, the jet goes right over it, passes it by, and then this object just disappears and then comes back to this bright light. And then it seemed like it was relatively close to the jet at this point, below it. And then it just drops down further away from the jet and then is gone again.
What kind of
a series of crazy maneuvers.
Right. I was going to say, what kind of maneuvers can you literally fly rings around a jet that's going about 500 miles an hour? And
right.
they were out over the Gulf, I know, at one point when all this was happening. Okay, so that means that this wasn't like some kind of ground interference thing going on. There was something there, and
it wasn't any kind of electronic illusion. This
exactly,
was a real thing.
Right. Go on, Em, please.
Go ahead, Em.
Yeah, sure. And so at this point, the jet is going to run low on fuel. So they need to go back to their original course and, get back to their base. And as they're doing this, switching back to their original course, the pilots see the light again show up. So how, and I think it said in total that it was about an hour and was it 600 miles or so that this was happening, where they, kept seeing this other object and it was following them and, circling the jet, dropping from below them, just disappearing, coming back. I mean, just crazy stuff.
Yeah. So, it's not that far away from the recent report that was in the New York Times, how these things kind of act. They act in a way that they don't seem to follow the laws of aerodynamics like, as we know them, because I can't think of anything. Even these days, that could maneuver like that. A drone certainly couldn't, fly rings around a jet that's going 500 miles an hour.
We're talking the 50s.
Okay. You're right. Bright red lights that, once again, people are seeing it. You get that perfect triangle. People are seeing them with their eyes. People are seeing them on radar. People are detecting them on this electronic countermeasures equipment. So something was there, but what was it? You know what I mean? What is this? What is going on? No one knows.
Was there any speculation as to what it was back then? Anybody kind of threw out some ideas of what the heck was going on?
I don't know. Do they?
I don't think. I
think it was just
there was. I know they reported it, and then I don't think the people on board the jet never heard anything back. I think they got questioned about it, and then that was it. Nothing else.
Right. I know that they they landed back at where they started, and I know that they were questioned, as you say, but no one could figure it out. I know that when they went back to where they started, they these things were picked up. The jet and these UFOs were picked up on radar, other radar stations in Texas, Louisiana,
so there was confirmation of this target from other stations, not just the one.
And readouts from the ECM equipment, too, which, you usually don't get. So it's just unusual that they, picked on this jet. It's almost like they did it on purpose in a way. And I know that there was a lot of maneuvering on the part of the pilot of the AB 47. I think that there was a lot of kind of, consternation that you're out there flying around. This thing is, literally flying rings around you, Stuff like this happens all the time. It happened a lot in the 50s. It
would scare the heck out of me. It would be more than consternation to be like, what the hell is going on?
I know it a few times that it came so close that the pilot had to take like evasive action and stuff like that. And back then, because we were in the Cold War and everything, I think a lot of people, their first instinct would be to say, well, it was somehow the Russians, okay?
Sure.
It's not the Russians. The Russians don't have stuff like this now or then. It's just interesting that these UFOs show up around probably one of the most sophisticated airplanes that were flying in that era, Interesting. It's an interesting story because, once again, there's just so much data that was a result of that. And where it all went, I mean, I know that I might not have put this in the book, but I know that they took all that data. The Pentagon took all the data, took all the interviews from the pilots and everything, and it was never seen again, so they stored it away somewhere.
Where are they putting all this data that they store away? Is it like
some vault somewhere?
Like some big crate, like the last scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Yeah.
Big warehouse.
That's the vision I have. They just store it away.
It drives me crazy that it's just tucked away and
right.
That
they should open it up, and we've said this before in many different ways. They should open up. First of all, number one, they should give amnesty to any service person who was told not to talk about a UFO sighting while they were in the service. Number one, give amnesty to those people. A lot of them were threatened with, you're going to lose your pension, you're going to get drummed out, you're not going to get a honorable discharge if you talk about what you saw. Give amnesty to all those people, and we will have a tidal wave of new information on UFOs, number one. Number two, if now you have the Pentagon, after years of lying to us, saying they weren't looking into UFOs, now it turns out that they were, why not let that information out? Why not let scientists, not people like us necessarily, but scientists look at this stuff and maybe come up with some kind of a explanation for it.
What are we afraid of? What is the government afraid of?
Sounds like the mail is here. Who is that? Is that you going through your... Emily, are you going?
Emily, are you being attacked?
I am not. I was on mute, so I don't know what that sound was.
Wow, that's a little
Steve?
too weird. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I was on mute too.
Switches.
You weren't on mute.
Yeah.
I was. I had my little red light.
You fell off your chair. That's what happened.
There you go. Well, Switch.
the
Switchblade
Cobra
is joining us.
The Cobra is slid in, listening.
And the Cobra is on. Well, they snuck on those two while we were talking to Emily.
What was all that noise? The Cobra must have just come in for a landing.
Yes, obviously.
And his helmet hit the ceiling of his secret domain.
Welcome to you, Switch.
Great to be here.
Okay. And Cobra, welcome to you.
Cobra, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you both, and lady.
Okay, this is what you've missed so far. I gave Juan-Juan a bag of jelly beans from Yummies.
I'm holding them up to the microphone.
Up in Kittery.
Oh, I know that. No, they're from the great state of Maine.
Right.
That's right.
Because there's a rumor going around that they're infused with cannabis. Yeah. So we're doing a little scientific experiment on our own here tonight. He's eating one a minute, and I can already see his eyes.
Maybe not that fast.
Doing cartwheels.
Oh, that's excellent. I'm glad that you're not doing the show in a state that doesn't support cannabis.
Okay, now phones are ringing.
We don't care. Every state is supporting cannabis in one way or the other now. It doesn't matter.
Sounds like the FBI on the other line there.
Yeah, if I got pulled over, it's going to be what seems to be the officer problem.
Yeah, right.
Hang on. Cannabis, isn't that country to the north?
There you go. Right. Yeah. All right.
Right.
Switcheroo. He comes in cold, but he's there with the
Doesn't
money.
count when you're from Michigan. Hey,
listen, I am brimming over with enthusiasm right now.
You want to tell us about it?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Because
the frosted
weather
flakes
people,
have been infused.
I know they're not to be trusted,
Go
but
ahead.
the weather people have suggested that by Sunday it's going to become 50. And one of those nights, it's not going to get below 50.
Okay.
So
around here or in Michigan?
The greater Bowl of Flakes area is going to thaw out.
Oh.
Finally.
make the cha-ching sound, because that's money in the bank.
Why?
Because you don't have to have the heat on.
Oh, I see.
You don't have to burn in the
That's right.
petrol.
I just got my consumer's bill today.
Wait, was it a little heavy, was it?
A little heavier than the last one.
Well,
Yeah, I've been blowing through petroleum products through my furnace like crazy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, the man that's eating the special jelly beans doesn't need to use the term blowing through anything for the remainder of the show.
I was a little shocked that petroleum products. That to me says Vaseline. Well, Emily, thank you for that report, and thank you for joining us. And what's the temperature in Cincinnati these days, today?
Oh, probably in the teens.
In the teens. Wow, this is going to be a cold winter, I guess, is what we're looking at.
So far,
right?
Yeah. It's pissing me off, actually.
Wow, I don't think you can use that word on the air.
Why not?
Can you?
Why not?
I don't know. So listen, Em, why don't you hang in with us while we take this commercial break? Can you?
Sure.
Okay.
Good.
And we will be back with Switch is going to tell us about another fascinating UFO incident. Cobra is on board. Very famous Juan-Juan is here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Mack. So why don't we take an ad now? And we'll be right back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Hey, this is Mack Maloney. Very exciting show for you tonight, but let me introduce the posse. We have a very large posse here with us tonight, starting with, and practically obligated to say his name first, the very famous Juan-Juan is here.
Hey.
2 weeks in a row.
Present and accounted for.
After your special mission. Also, from his undisclosed location, Commander Cobra is here.
Cooling the jets down on the engine as we speak.
Coco.
When does he cool his jets?
Right, never. They call him Coco on the streets.
That's right. He's so hot that he's on fire.
He's on fire, right. Also, Switcheroo from the Bowl of Lakes up there, Battle Creek, Michigan. Switchblade Steve Ward is with us.
And glad to be here.
Glad to be here. And also brightening up the entire show, Emily Mittermeier, joining us from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Hello. Glad to be here.
Wow. Okay. You see how everything takes on a different shade. You know what I mean? When Emily says hello. Good name for song. When Emily says hello. Okay.
We all light up.
Right.
Like a Christmas tree.
That could mean something else. So, you know.
Did the cow sills do that one?
Like a firecracker.
Yeah, we might have to work on that. Anyway, so everyone's okay. Everyone's cold, apparently, though Switch told us off the air that they're expecting 50-degree weather way up there in Michigan.
That's right.
That's going to be a shock. We had 60-degree weather here in New England for one day. We had about 6 inches of snow, and it all melted.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I was watching it melt, actually.
And then the next day it was like 22 degrees. So,
and it revealed all the turkey poop that's been out there.
All right. Turkey poop is
my
the
flock of turkeys.
I was attacked by turkeys once.
Really?
Yep.
Is there a story there you can tell us? That's going to be
where I work. I was driving the truck in.
Yes.
And this is one of the kind of a industrial subdivision. These guys, they wander in gangs sometimes.
Okay.
And so I pulled in, and I could see these guys following me in. And so when I pulled in to park the truck, by then about 3 of them had surrounded me.
Turkeys.
So it was pretty weird. I thought one of them was trying to distract me, and the other one was going to steal my wallet. But,
are we talking about wild turkeys or thugs?
No, these are real turkeys. I had to actually kind of wave my clipboard at them to discourage them.
Wow.
They probably thought I had food or something.
They do work in teams.
Huh, wow.
They're like raccoons. They work in teams.
You do see them running around in our part of the woods these days.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't see them years ago, but now you do.
Well, I feed them, so, that's
so
why I have so many of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Steve, why don't you give us your report? One of the most, we're talking about really kind of classic UFO incidents tonight, if there's a theme to the show. And one of the most famous ones and baffling was this UFO sighting over O'Hare Airport a few years ago. Now, how unusual is that? Because usually UFOs tend to show up in not isolated places, but, unusual places.
Yeah. O'Hare's pretty busy all the time.
Yeah, this one showed up right over the airport, right, Steve?
That's right. It was November 7th, 2006. It was overcast, about 4 miles visibility, and like you say, it's always busy, but this was a particularly busy time, and people started noticing this all of a sudden. This disc hovering, it was about at 1,900 feet, just below the cloud bank. Now, there's some question as about how long it was visible, anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, depending on who you talk to. But it seems like a lot of people didn't really notice it at first, and even the strange thing is that it was not picked up on radar, even though several people saw this. The estimate of this, it was a classic disc shape. The estimate was anywhere, again, depending on who they talked to, anywhere from 22 to 88 feet in diameter. Now, all it did is pretty much hover in this one area. It was over the United Airlines terminal.
Wow.
And so they started getting some of the mechanics started to notice it. There started to be some chatter back and forth on the radio. One of the management employees was the first guy to contact the FAA to let them know. And then shortly after, all of a sudden, this thing takes off through the cloud bank and leaves a hole through it, just like you'd see in a cartoon.
Sure.
And then slowly but surely, the clouds, of course, reformed, and it was gone. So there was a group, NARCAP, the National Aviation Reporting Center on Anomalous Phenomena. This is headed by Dr. Richard Haynes, and it has several high-profile people. It had a meteorologist, William Puckett, a aerospace engineer, Lawrence Lemke. So this wasn't like my high school UFO club, with a bunch of enthusiasts going through UFO magazines.
Yeah,
these are real professionals
right.
that spent 5 months looking at this and produced a 154-page report.
Any snapshots of it, or just too?
Well,
yes,
things
there
were
too fast.
Several. And I remember some years ago there was another radio show where one of the hosts was a guy who was pretty adept at computer imaging and determining what was fake and what wasn't. And he examined quite a few of them, and he said a lot of them had problems where it looked like it was a fake. But he did come across one that he thought could very possibly be legitimate. So, but the problem is finding that picture and then separating it from all the other ones, because it seemed like every geek that had a computer got on board to create a false image of this thing.
Of course. So,
but the conclusion of this group was that apparently the FAA turned its it really is bizarre. They just ignored it because, well, look, it wasn't on radar, and actually supposedly the people in the tower did not see this either. So I don't know exactly where the United Airlines terminal is in relation to the tower, but not everybody saw this thing at the time, and it was because it was only there a very short period of time. So, but the conclusion was that something. I mean, people saw this. It made a physical effect on the clouds, and their suggestion was that perhaps we don't have if this had been an airplane or anything in a space unauthorized, there would have been an uproar. The FAA would have been all excited about it.
Sure, there have been,
especially this is in the wake of 9/11. This is 2006.
There'd be a scramble and everything else.
So the blasé attitude, and also there's a lot. I guess now Leslie Keene is one of the sources on this. She wrote a great book called UFOs: Generals, Pilots, and Government Officials Go on the Record, and she said that there were found a lot of people that were witnesses to this, but they're all afraid to go on the record. They're all afraid for their jobs, and that's really a shame. The way that the FAA and our government seems to handle some of these things. An incident, like Max said, in this busy area, all these people saw this, and it's a pretty astounding sighting, and that was it. Now, 5 months later, did somebody want to say something?
No.
Okay. 5 months later, April 23rd, 2007, we're an hour over the English Channel and off the French coast of Normandy. We got a commercial airline pilot, Ray Bauer. Now, this guy had been flying since 1985. A few years later, after he started flying, he became a commercial pilot. 5,000 hours, 8,000 landings. This guy is no amateur. Okay. Now, again, April 23rd, he's in a routine flight. He and his passengers see this UFO. Now, at first, and this is over the English Channel, and they're approaching the Channel Islands. Excellent visibility in this particular case, and it's just normally like a 40-minute run at 150 miles an hour, and he's done it, how many times? And first he sees this at a distance, and like any seasoned pilot, he's looking, going through his mind, what could this be? And he at first he thinks it's a reflection, and as he gets closer, he looks through his binoculars. He sees that it's a giant craft. Now he didn't give a size, but he said it was huge. Later on, he said that this was something that other people had seen. This could be seen from 50 miles away.
Wow.
Whatever. And then he saw, and it was giving off some kind of light, and then it was followed by an identical one. So there's these two giant craft coming across the English Channel, and he said that the conditions were beneath him were kind of hazy, and it's possible that the people on the ground did not see these things. So he sees this, and upon landing, he goes to the operations department to make an official report, and he finds out that this was actually picked up on radar. It's like all of a sudden these things showed up for a period of time, and then they winked out. Very strange. So they weren't there the whole time. It's just like they appeared, at least on radar, and then disappeared.
Right.
When he was returning back, he found out, Bauer was informed that there was another pilot in a second aircraft that saw the same object, and had reported it. So he really felt a lot better, even though he had several witnesses on board his own craft. It was great to have that confirmation from another pilot that they had seen this thing.
Absolutely.
So now he was when he was shocked at the difference between the way. Now, when he reported this to the British, their equivalent to the FAA is the Civilian Aviation Authority, the CAA, and they were perfectly open. There was, there's no problem. There's no, keep your mouth shut. He did an interview, I guess, with the BBC, and there was no backlash. And so the whole, it's just, it really kind of surprised me that the whole incident was treated completely different than the way it is in the U.S.
Right. Yeah, the British are, traditionally, they're more open about these things. And so are the French. Actually, so is everybody except the United States.
It seems to be kind of an information control problem, right?
Right.
as far as we're concerned.
Right. See, that's in
we need to take ownership of the information and disseminate it the way we want to do it.
In the past, people have, the explanation people have given is that, the United States, I don't believe they know what UFOs are, but they know more about them than anyone else. They who knows? The other countries are still kind of searching, but it seems like if you're still kind of searching and looking for an answer, you're more open about it. If you kind of know a little bit of what's going on, you want to, as you say, you want to control the information. You want to keep it to yourself. Does that sound right, military-wise there, Cobra?
Yes, because you look at this, it looks like we've probably exploited technology. And on the face of it, the last couple months, the amount of released information from the Pentagon is staggering. Mm-hmm. How many years have we said that this is nothing? And come to find out, we have a department with a budget. A gentleman that now is working with Mr. DeLong. So, this goes back to power control and probably a belief, maybe not as evil as that, but to a belief that the public can't handle it because we're too silly, we're too stupid. Yep. And government's got to protect us from ourselves. That's my conclusion on all of this.
What I find fascinating, too, is that in her earlier report, Emily was talking about an incident that happened in the late 50s where this RB-47 jet was on a routine electronic countermeasures mission out of the Texas, out over the Gulf of Mexico, and these two red lights followed it for 600 miles. And they had confirmation, visual confirmation, radar confirmation, but these things were also picked up on the data being collected by the electronic countermeasure equipment on board this RB-47. And they were described as these bright red lights that were literally flying rings around this RB-47. Mm. So you have something that, by comparison is small, and now we're talking about these things, as Switch just talked about these massive UFOs. So, what's going on? There isn't one UFO fits all. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's different kinds of UFOs. There's no doubt about it.
Are we in the business of denying all of those experiences?
Exactly. Well, we have been.
Yes. The short answer to that question is yes.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. So did anyone ever come up with any kind of a reasonable earthly explanation for these things?
No, in fact, they labeled it as an unknown. It was a transportation expert back to the O'Hare case, Hilkovich, I believe his name is. Mm-hmm. He was also mystified by the seeming disinterest by the FAA. You have to wonder, on the surface, are they disinterested? And then in the back room, are they doing an investigation, or is there some other body that's looking into it? But the thing is, here over O'Hare again, you've got something in a secure airspace a few years after 9/11. Mm-hmm. What the heck? And the other thing I noticed, I remember when this came out, and you know how the news people will for the little funny at the end, they'll give you some kind of story. Well, sometimes it's the UFO story. Well, some well-known pundits on various channels would talk about this, and they had kind of the S-eating grin on their face. Yes. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. What is this? If you're supposed to be an objective journalist, where's your sense of curiosity? Why aren't you out there talking to these people and these credible people to try and figure out what's going on? But there's something, I don't know if it's in the human psyche or what's going on, that where so many people will react this way and just snicker and brush it off.
Yeah, we've said this many times on the show. Why don't journalists pursue what could be the biggest story in humankind? When you think about it, right? I mean, whatever these things are.
Like a Woodward and Bernstein kind of effort.
Exactly. I mean, but...
In fact, the Chicago Tribune, I think it was Peter Davenport of the UFO Reporting Center that first got this. This didn't surface in the mainstream media for 2 months. Wow. The Chicago Tribune finally picked it up, and they had more hits on their website than they had ever had for anything ever since they had gone online.
It's very strange. And also, once again, we've talked about this on the show many times. The top 10 movies of the past 20 years, 3 or 4 of them anyway, have to do with UFOs and,
exactly.
people from, creatures from other places coming here or whatever. It's just baffling why, again, journalists don't pursue this. I mean, talk about winning a Pulitzer Prize, yet when I can remember when that information came out in the New York Times there late last year, when I saw it, it was on ABC Morning News, which is like the absolute worst thing on TV. The Today Show is bad and CBS Morning News is bad, but that ABC Morning
Michael
News.
Strahan in the game?
Yeah, exactly. You know, you have a Giants linebacker as your newscaster.
I never watched it. I watched Kelly and Ryan.
And the chick, okay, and the bubble-headed chick, I think her name is Paula Farris. When they came back from the report, from the video, from the F-18 pilot, she goes, "I think I saw the Millennium Falcon there," and and everyone, including the cameramen, are laughing. What are you laughing about? You're looking at something that could just blow the civilization wide open.
Do you really think that that's just her being bubble-headed, and you don't think that was orchestrated, that the media is not suppressing this?
Well, the Star Wars show, Star Wars had just come out.
The question I'm out here is, do you think the media is not complicit in this?
No, because I don't think, because they're so stupid, I don't think that they could hold a conspiracy of dunces together for more than...
There's too much media now.
That you think the media is that stupid.
Well, there's too much alternative media.
Do you think that someone as dumb as this woman on ABC could actually keep a secret and be in bed with the Pentagon?
No, what I think is that this is treated as, when they get their brief in the morning, before they go on to the show, that this is a BS story that we're going to play, and that's what they're told, and that's what they
get a couple of funnies out of it.
Yeah, but not every journalist would fall for that. We just saw the other day.
Point to one, and then I'll come back and I'll tell you. I think it's part of the conspiracy.
But Juan-Juan just said
you don't want to talk about it. I got it.
Juan-Juan just said that
I'm the lone man in this.
Woodward and Bernstein. Okay, just take them for an example. And we were talking off here. I just went to see Lois and I just went to see The Post, and it's the story about the Pentagon Papers being released back in 1971. Where it really documented that our leaders had been lying to us for like 30 years about how we could not win in Vietnam. Okay. And how these journalists, and the sad thing about this movie is that you'll never see journalism like this again, because everyone out there is just weenies now. But these people, risk going to prison because they had a good story in their hand, okay? I don't think, and they were very anti-Nixon in the government and very cognizant of the fact.
And Nixon had nothing to do with the story.
Right,
that
exactly.
was Johnson and Kennedy.
That's another story, though. But what I'm saying is, back then, if this conspiracy is going on now, then it was going on back then. And there's no way in the world that these people who are like the last journalists of the American scene would lay down for a UFO conspiracy, yet, report on stuff that ultimately led to the end of the Vietnam War and a president resigning. I mean,
just want to make sure we get this point clear. You're telling me that you actually believe that the people that are sitting in those positions on those morning shows are journalists. That's what you're equating.
No, but they're controlled. But they're controlled by editors. They're told what to do. They're told what to read.
They're just teleprompter readers, and they throw in
But someone in that operation is writing and reporting news. They're doing it.
So you're agreeing with me that this is part of the conspiracy.
I don't think you could hold a conspiracy that vast a conspiracy together all these years.
No. They're afraid of their jobs.
Behaving the way they're behaving.
I think they're just stupid.
They're afraid of their jobs.
And they're afraid of their jobs, right. I think they're afraid of their jobs.
That sector of the news media is shrinking every day, and people are getting laid off all the time.
Journalism is there's no more journalism in this country. Okay, it's just like this country is no longer a democracy. It's a plurocracy. It's the rich people run this country, okay, and the rest of us are just along for the ride, however bumpy it might be. There's no more journalism in this country, but it just seems like, for instance, the guy Ronan Farrow, let's just throw his name out there. He had the story on Harvey Weinstein, whatever his name was, early. The Today Show was going to report it.
New York Times suppressed it.
They chickened out, New York Times, and then it finally went to the New Yorker, and they're the ones who released it. And now it's this big, huge story, okay? I think that, even though he's Mia Farrow's, son, kind of looks like a daughter, but, I think there are people like that. They're few and far between these days, but they're not all gone completely. Okay, I just can't believe that there's no one out there who can't sink their hooks into this story and try to figure out what is going on, how much the Pentagon knows and isn't telling us. I don't believe it's a conspiracy because you couldn't keep that conspiracy together again in these days where everyone talks about everything. I go back to the SEAL Team 6 people who whacked bin Laden. Okay, they were all, bound not to talk about one of the most top secret operations ever. And 3 of them come out with books, and they're in movies, and
right.
they're on Good Morning America, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
Anyway. I can buy that some of the upper echelon are conspiratorial and move in shadowy areas and kind of go along. I think some of the lower level ones are, in fact, very stupid.
Yeah, and I think this Paola Faris, I think that's her name. I think she said it because, once again, ABC is owned by Walt Disney. Disney put out the Star Wars movie. She made a reference to the Millennium Falcon, which was part of that's probably what she was told to do. Link it into. Anyway,
just being hip.
It's still a death knell. Anybody that's trying to be serious, if they mention that they had seen a UFO,
right?
That all the news media just descends on them and ridicules.
The ridicule factor. Yeah. Anyway, Switcherino, thank you for that sterling report.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Hopefully, you're going to get warm. When is that warm front hitting you?
They're promising me by Sunday.
Wow.
We're going to hit 50, and one of those nights, I don't know whether it's Saturday or Sunday, it's not going to go down below 50.
Wow.
So even if they lie, they usually lie about 5 or 10 degrees, I'll take 40.
Will you go run around the neighborhood in your boxes or something like that?
What makes you think I don't already do that,
There
Mac?
you go.
All
See,
right. There you go.
I got you.
He's really on.
That's
man.
like me too, Mac.
He's on tonight.
Yep.
Yeah, I know you do that on a regular.
Underwear,
you do it here.
Underwear wherever possible.
No matter what the temperature is. Thank you, Switch. Emily, thank you. Is a warm front heading your way, and are you going to run around your neighborhood?
Topless.
Don't say
well,
that.
I don't know if a warm
Where did that come
coming,
from?
And I don't run.
Came from the jellybeans.
No.
It was the jellybeans, Emily.
Kicking in. Thank you, Emily, for joining us. I love that report.
I had to fill in the end of that sentence
That's
that you were going for, Mac.
That's right. Okay. Timing is everything. Thank you, you two, and we will talk to you next week, okay?
I'm going to call. Right. I'm going to get a call from Emily's lawyer.
Hey, we've already had one call from late time. Before you go, why don't we all salute Cobra?
Yes.
Contractually obligated.
All right.
Ready?
10 hut.
Wow, Juan-Juan, straight as a wow. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to assume you two had.
I learned that at Great Lakes.
Salutes too. Thank you, kids.
All right. Good night.
See you soon.
Good night, Emily. Good night, Steve.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right.
Oh, you know what? And thank you for joining us. This is the end of the show, Juan-Juan, as it turns out. Okay?
Time flies when you're having fun.
It sure does. So why don't we once
Especially
again
when you're in your underwear.
Right. Yep. That vision, I can't take that out of my mind now. There's not enough Jack Daniels in the world. But thank you, Em. Thank you, Switch. Thank you, Cobra, for joining us. Thank you to Mary Joyce for joining us tonight. Very interesting report. And also Cindy Bailey-Dove. We'll be here next week with another fascinating show, we hope. Until then, this is Mack Maloney for the gang saying, be safe, be happy, and...
Bye-bye.